Sandwiches are one of the most common foods in America today. They are quick, cheap, and everywhere. But many people don't realize that American sandwich history is filled with creations that once fed millions and then quietly disappeared. These weren't gourmet inventions. They were working class meals, born from factories, railroads, wars, and immigration. They existed because people needed something fast, filling, and affordable. Over time, tastes changed, industries collapsed, and these sandwiches faded from memory. One such forgotten sandwich is the chow mein sandwich. Once popular in New England, it consisted of crispy chow mein noodles served between hamburger buns with gravy. It sounds strange today, but it was extremely common in the early 20th century, especially in working-class neighborhoods. Another lost favorite was the Scotch woodcock sandwich. Despite its name, it didn't contain bird meat. It was a rich mixture of anchovies, eggs, and butter served on toast. It was once considered comforting and elegant, but strong flavors pushed it out of modern menus. The sardine sandwich was once a lunchtime staple. Cheap canned sardines mixed with mustard or butter were packed into bread and eaten by factory workers and dock laborers. As canned fish fell out of fashion, so did this sandwich. During hard economic times, sandwiches became survival tools. The fried bologna sandwich wasn't just comfort food, it was a necessity. Bologna was cheap, lasted long, and fed families when meat was scarce. Today, it's mocked, but it once kept people full. Immigrants brought their own sandwich traditions. Many disappeared as communities assimilated. Italian, Jewish, and German immigrant sandwiches were simplified, renamed, or abandoned altogether. The olive loaf sandwich is another forgotten creation. Made with processed olive loaf meat, it was once a lunchbox classic. As food trends moved away from processed meats, it vanished. Some sandwiches disappeared because they were tied to specific jobs. Railroad workers, miners, and dockhands needed portable meals. When those industries declined, so did the food traditions around them. The peanut butter and bacon sandwich was once common before health concerns changed eating habits. It was filling, salty, and cheap, perfect for laborers. Not all forgotten sandwiches were poor people's food. Some were once luxurious. Lobster sandwiches were originally cheap, served to prisoners and workers before lobster became expensive. Many of these sandwiches weren't lost because they were bad. They were lost because society changed. Fast food chains standardized taste. Refrigeration changed storage. Convenience replaced creativity. Today, these sandwiches feel strange, outdated, or even unappetizing, but they tell powerful stories about how Americans lived, worked, and survived. Food history isn't just about flavor, it's about people. Every forgotten sandwich represents a moment in time, a community, and a way of life that no longer exists. By rediscovering these lost sandwiches, we don't just revive recipes, we reconnect with the everyday lives of ordinary Americans, people who built the country one meal at a time. Many of America's forgotten sandwiches were created out of necessity, not creativity. They were meals designed to be eaten quickly, cheaply, and without waste. Long before fast food chains existed, these sandwiches powered workers through long shifts and hard labor. One such example is the tomato sandwich. It sounds too simple to matter, but during the early 1900s, it was incredibly common. Thick slices of tomato, salt, pepper, and mayonnaise between bread made a cheap, refreshing meal in summer. As tomatoes became more expensive year-round and tastes changed, this sandwich faded into nostalgia. Another lost classic is the pickle sandwich. In many working-class households, pickles were cheap and abundant. Some sandwiches contained little more than sliced pickles, butter, and bread. It wasn't glamorous, but it filled stomachs when meat was unavailable. The onion sandwich was once a Depression-era staple. Raw onions sliced thin, sometimes soaked in water to soften their bite, were layered on bread with mustard. Strong, cheap, and filling it with survival food at its most basic. Peanut butter was once considered a luxury before becoming common. Early peanut butter sandwiches often included unexpected ingredients like lettuce, mayonnaise, or even sliced onions. These combinations sound strange today, but were once perfectly normal. During World War I, rationing influenced sandwich culture. Meatless sandwiches became common. Cheese, eggs, and spreads replaced sliced meats. Many of these wartime creations disappeared once rationing ended. The cheese and apple sandwich was once popular in rural America. Sweet and savory flavors combined cheaply. Today, it feels unusual, but it once made perfect sense. Some sandwiches disappeared because their ingredients fell out of favor. Liverwurst sandwiches were once widely eaten, especially among immigrant communities. As organ meats became unpopular, these sandwiches vanished from mainstream menus. The butter sandwich seems unbelievable today, but it was common among poor families. Butter on bread provided fat and calories when nothing else was available. Children carried these sandwiches to school without complaint. Certain sandwiches were regional and never spread nationwide. The Denver sandwich, made with scrambled eggs, onions, and ham, was once popular in diners. It later evolved into the Denver omelet, leaving the sandwich version forgotten. Fish sandwiches weren't always fast food creations. Herring, sardine, and mackerel sandwiches were once common near coastal towns. As tastes shifted and canned fish declined in popularity, these meals disappeared. Sandwiches also reflected social class. Some were considered poor food and were abandoned as families gained wealth. Others were seen as old-fashioned and replaced by trendier meals. Marketing played a role in what survived. Sandwiches promoted by restaurants and chains lived on. Homemade sandwiches without branding quietly faded away. These forgotten sandwiches remind us that food trends are temporary. What seems normal in one generation can feel strange in the next. Modern sandwich culture focuses on abundant stacked meats, sauces, and specialty breads. Older sandwiches were about restraint and necessity. By looking back at these long-lost sandwiches, we see how flexible American food culture once was. People ate what worked, not what looked good on a menu. These meals weren't designed to impress. They were designed to keep people going. In forgetting these sandwiches, we also forget the stories of ordinary people, workers, immigrants, and families who relied on them daily. Remembering them brings American food history back to its roots. Some of America's long-lost sandwiches didn't disappear because they tasted bad. They vanished because the world around them changed. Technology, convenience, and marketing slowly pushed many homemade sandwiches into obscurity. Before refrigeration was common, sandwiches were built around ingredients that didn't spoil quickly. Salted meats, pickled vegetables, canned fish, and hard cheeses dominated. Once refrigerators became standard, fresh meats replaced these older ingredients, and many classic sandwiches lost their place. The cold meat sandwich was once a luxury. Leftover roast beef or pork sliced thin and placed between bread was considered efficient and respectful of food. Today, leftovers are often ignored or wasted. The bread and dripping sandwich was another forgotten staple. Meat drippings were saved and spread onto bread. It provided fat, flavor, and calories. As cooking fats changed and meat became more available, the sandwich disappeared. Factories and mills once shaped sandwich culture. Workers needed food they could eat quickly with dirty hands. Thick sauces, melted cheese, and complicated layers were impractical. Simple sandwiches ruled. The egg sandwich was once eaten cold, not hot. Boiled eggs mashed with butter or mayonnaise were common. Today's hot breakfast sandwiches replaced these earlier versions. Some sandwiches disappeared because they were tied to poverty. When families gained financial stability, they abandoned foods that reminded them of hard times. Even if the sandwich tasted good, the memory attached to it did not. The cabbage sandwich was once common among Eastern European immigrants. Shredded cabbage mixed with vinegar or fat was cheap and filling. As immigrant communities assimilated, these foods faded. Marketing reshaped what Americans considered normal. Sandwiches sold in diners, lunch counters, and later fast food chains survived. Homemade combinations without advertising vanished quietly. The sugar sandwich sounds shocking today, but it was real. Bread with butter and sugar sprinkled on top was a childhood treat during hard times. As sugar consumption changed and tastes matured, this sandwich disappeared. School lunches also played a role. Standardized lunch programs replaced homemade food. This erased regional sandwich traditions across generations. Urbanization mattered too. As people moved to cities, food habits changed. Portable meals evolved, and older rural sandwiches were forgotten. The cornbread sandwich was once common in the South. Cornbread split and filled with vegetables or meat scraps provided cheap nutrition. Modern bread replaced cornbread in most sandwiches. Another lost creation was the potato sandwich. Mashed potatoes seasoned and placed between bread were eaten when little else was available. It sounds odd now, but it was filling and practical. Taste preferences shifted toward texture and indulgence. Soft, simple sandwiches lost popularity to crispy, cheesy, and sauce-heavy versions. Convenience foods reshaped kitchens. Pre-sliced meats and packaged sandwiches changed how people ate. If it wasn't easy to sell, it didn't survive. These forgotten sandwiches reveal how food memory works. What we eat is deeply connected to identity, class, and time. When a sandwich disappears, it's rarely because it failed. It's because something newer replaced it. By studying these lost meals, we understand how fragile food traditions really are. What we eat today may also disappear tomorrow. These sandwiches remind us that food history is constantly changing, and much of it is already forgotten. Not every forgotten sandwich was born from poverty or hardship. Some were once fashionable, even trendy, before time quietly pushed them aside. These sandwiches reflect changing tastes, social habits, and ideas about what food should be. Tea sandwiches, for example, were once symbols of refinement. Thin slices of bread with delicate fillings like cucumber, egg, or anchovy paste were popular in early 20th century America. As formal tea culture declined, these sandwiches disappeared from everyday life. The anchovy sandwich was once far more common than people realize. Anchovies were affordable and widely used. Spread with butter on toast, they provided protein and strong flavor. As American tastes shifted away from fishy flavors, anchovy sandwiches faded. Hotel dining rooms once influenced sandwich culture. Clubs, grills, and specialty sandwiches appeared in upscale spaces before trickling down. The famous club sandwich survived, but many of its variations did not. The chicken salad sandwich itself has changed dramatically. Early versions were simple chopped chicken, celery, and dressing. Modern versions are richer, sweeter, and heavily modified. Older styles quietly vanished. Some sandwiches disappeared because preparation took time. Slow-cooked fillings didn't fit modern schedules. As people spent less time cooking, only quick-to-assemble sandwiches survived. The tongue sandwich was once a delicacy. Beef tongue, thinly sliced, was served cold on bread. As organ meats fell out of favor, so did this sandwich. Social class also determined what stayed. Foods associated with wealth were preserved through restaurants and cookbooks. Working-class sandwiches often lacked documentation and were forgotten. Advertising shaped memory. Sandwiches promoted through brands, menus, and packaging remained visible. Home-only sandwiches left no paper trail. The cheese and mustard sandwich was once extremely common. Sharp mustard added flavor to simple cheese. As processed cheese spreads emerged, this combination lost popularity. Children's tastes changed over time. What one generation accepted gladly, the next rejected. School lunches standardized flavors and erased regional sandwich traditions. World events influenced what people ate. Wars, economic shifts, and migration reshaped ingredients. When access changed, sandwiches disappeared. The bean sandwich was once a real thing. Mashed beans seasoned and spread on bread provided cheap protein. Today, it sounds unusual, but it served a purpose. Sandwiches also evolved into other foods. What disappeared as a sandwich often survived as a salad, casserole, or diner plate. The disappearance of these sandwiches doesn't mean they were failures. It means food culture moved on. Revisiting them challenges modern ideas about taste. It reminds us that preferences are learned, not fixed. These forgotten sandwiches show how fragile culinary memory is. Without repetition, food disappears. By remembering them, we preserve more than recipes. We preserve stories of how Americans once lived and ate. The story of America's long-lost sandwiches is ultimately a story about memory. What we eat is shaped not only by taste, but by time, culture, and circumstance. When those change, food traditions quietly disappear. Many of these sandwiches were never written down. They lived in lunch pails, factory floors, school bags, and kitchen tables. When the people who ate them passed on, the sandwiches went with them. Convenience reshaped everything. As pre-packaged foods became common, homemade sandwiches declined. Standardization replaced creativity. What could be sold survived. What couldn't was forgotten. The rise of fast food chains narrowed sandwich culture. Burgers, subs, and grilled cheese dominated menus. Thousands of regional and household sandwiches vanished without notice. Economic change also mattered. Foods associated with struggle were intentionally left behind. For many families, forgetting these sandwiches felt like progress. But forgetting also meant losing knowledge. We lost recipes designed to stretch food, reduce waste, and feed people efficiently. Today, there is renewed interest in food history. Rising costs and changing values have pushed people to look backward for solutions. Suddenly, these forgotten sandwiches make sense again. What once seemed odd now feels practical. Simple ingredients, minimal waste, maximum nourishment. Rediscovering these sandwiches doesn't mean romanticizing hardship. It means respecting resilience. These meals represent ingenuity under pressure. Food trends come and go, but necessity creates lasting wisdom. The sandwiches Americans forgot still have lessons to teach. By remembering them, we expand our understanding of American food beyond restaurants and brands. We return to kitchens, communities, and everyday survival. Every forgotten sandwich tells a story of work, migration, poverty, comfort, and change. They remind us that food doesn't need to be impressive to be important. As we face modern challenges, the past offers guidance. Sometimes the simplest meals are the strongest. America may have forgotten these sandwiches, but their legacy remains waiting to be rediscovered, one bite at a time.